Abby, upset bride wants a bachelorette party redo.
Oh, yes.
Can you even do those?
That's what she wants to know. So I'm going to be the maid of honor at my cousin's wedding next year. And so when a listener sent me this article, I was like, as long as I don't do the bachelorette as poorly as they do, then I'm going to be just fine. So it's this Reddit thread where this woman wants to know if she can ask for a redo on her bachelorette because her friends literally abandoned her the whole weekend.
The bride got abandoned?
Yes.
There's a hard rule at bachelorette parties. Leave no woman behind.
There's just kind of one rule on bachelorettes, period. Make it about the bride.
Yeah, there's that as well.
What were they doing? Hooking up with like other people left and right, so they just let her go do her own thing? Or
So I can read this whole thread, or I can just give you a summary. So the thread says, I'm getting married in 3 months to my fiance. This past weekend, my whole bachelorette party for my bridesmaids and for my other close friends spent a weekend at my grandma's cabin in the mountains. The official weekend plans were kept a surprise for me, but I had set the expectation that I wanted to play a lot of silly, stereotypical bachelorette games, spend some time outside hiking or swimming, or go to the club in the nearby town. The first night we got there, it started out okay, it was nothing special, but then everyone was splitting into little groups, and I ended up not seeing much of my bridesmaids most of the night. The next day, things started to go downhill. I was told to be ready to leave the house at 10 a.m. I went downstairs at 9:45, didn't see a single person till noon. By the time everyone was up and ready, it was 2 p.m. Around 3 p.m., I finally asked my maid of honor what the plan was. She said we had missed our brunch reservation and everyone had immediately started drinking when they woke up, so no one could drive us anyway. Since I was the only sober one at the time, I ended up having to go into town and grab everybody lunch. The night plan was to go into town and hit up the club, and apparently nobody had considered how we were getting into town, which was a 45-minute drive. We ended up calling a local cab to see if they could drive us into town, and they said they don't typically do out-of-town rides, so they would have to charge us $250 up front. The club we went to is my favorite club, which is where me and my maid of honor go all the time. However, when we finally got to the club, things immediately started going bad again. I went and grabbed myself a drink, and by the time I came back, my group had integrated themselves with a group of about 6 guys. There was no room at their table for me, so I went off to dance with my friends.
come on.
Wow.
After a while, we went back to the table and everyone had left. I called my maid of honor and asked where they were, and she said that the guys had told them about a better club a few blocks away, and they had went there. She didn't even realize I wasn't with them. The one friend I was with wanted to join them, but I just wanted to head back to the cabin at this point. When I woke up the next morning, only 3 people had made it back. I asked them where everybody else was, and they said they had ended up going home with some of the guys. I texted the Bachelorette group chat and said how sad I was about how the weekend had gone so far. I also mentioned that I thought it was inappropriate that they chose to go home with some random guys instead of coming home with me. Some of them ended up responding, saying they were mad at me because apparently they had no way to pay for the cab home and got stranded in town. Eventually, everyone made it back to the cabin. The plan for the day was to go to the beach and then play some silly games. Everyone says they were really hungover, and we just tried to make the best of it. We got back to the house, and everyone was having a blast. We were playing drinking games. And then I asked them what they wanted to do, and they said they weren't having fun anymore and wanted to do something else. Basically, it's just this whole scenario. It goes on and on and on and on for pages, where she was basically like, every time we went out, my friends would either go off and do something else or leave me to pay for everything.
Now, when you select who's going to be at your bachelorette party, these are good friends of yours, right? So you know who they are.
They're your closest friends. You have your bridesmaids and then your other close friends who aren't in the bridal party, but they're obviously totally okay with it. And you have a big weekend of it. I am livid for her. Like, what a horrible maid of honor.
The only 2 conclusions I can come from this scenario is either A, she's horrible friends, and she's just now realizing it.
That's what it sounds like.
Because sometimes it takes stuff like this for you to realize that this is not like your friend's area of strength. But honestly, they just seem like a-holes. But B, there's a lot of pressure to have like an even amount of groomsmen and bridesmaids. So if you've got a groom that has like 15 people in his groomsmen party, then there's a lot of pressure to have 15 people in your bridesmaids party, because then it makes you look like you don't have a lot of good friends. So what I kind of think actually happened in this scenario was maybe that happened, And she invited all these random people who weren't actually her good friends just for the sake of balancing things out.
That could be it. Now, let me throw another scenario out at you, and I don't want to victim shame here, but if you've got like 5 or 6 women, and they're all super selfish women, and these are your closest friends that have bailed on you during your bachelorette party, isn't like the cliche that take a look at my friends, take a look at me?
Yes, there is a cliche like that.
So
the fact that they all left the club and didn't realize the bride wasn't with them, I would have went home at that point in time.
That's why I feel like what would be the point of a redo? Because aren't you going to invite the same friends?
I want to redo
You got to do it with different friends.
I want a solo trip.
Yeah.
Seriously.
The Bert Show.
Hey, did you like what you just watched? Good news, there's more of us. If you go to wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's Apple or Google Play or Spotify, you can listen to The Bert Show wherever you are, whenever you want to.